Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Kerrville. Wonderful to see almost a full house today. Thank y'all for being here with us. With that said, there's a lot of cell phones in the room, so if you would please put them on silent, but also check in on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and let the world know where we're at and that we're solving all the problems right here in Kerrville, Texas. A few changes last minute. I'm going to ask Roy Boudreau to please come up and lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Pray with me, please. Father, thank you for the many blessings you've given us. We're especially grateful, Lord, for our leaders. We ask, Lord, that you anoint them and bless them and guide them and show them the way that you would have them go. Thank you for the food today. Thank you for the hands that prepared it. And we ask your blessings on us as we proceed with our business in Rotary. Help us to do the things that you would have us do, Lord. For it's in your precious name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Lord.
All right, we do have a song today, but George is not here. Charlie is in Amarillo, so he can't lead us. So I'm going to ask if Dave Rittenhouse can get us started online, if that's possible.
Okay, I don't know that you guys are hearing me.
We are.
Oh, you are. Okay, so people online I know are hearing me. Well, let's let Charlie or George try to do it. George, you're a better singer than I am. Come off mute, George, and let us hear it. George, you're still on mute. I'd like to get a professional to do this for us, Jeff, not, a rank amateur like myself here. Come on, George, get off mute.
All right, I'll start it, but
Okay, I'm sorry.
please don't listen to my singing voice.
Come on, George.
This is to the tune of When the Saints Come Marching In. And this is for Marta in the main event.
I'm gonna try to sing with you. Oh, do you
know what's coming up? Oh, do you know
what's coming up?
We'll
Well, if
see.
you don't know, we'll tell you. It's the Rotary event.
Our VP Marta is working hard
hard
to
make
make
this be this one.
Yeah.
It's coming up in just 2 short weeks.
So let's
all
all
participate.
There will be
Lots of fun,
and
fellowship, games of chance you'll want to try. So be ready for a great time at the Rotary. Okay,
I'm gonna please be seated and thank y'all. And we all are secure with our day jobs.
I'm going off.
So at this time, it gives me a great honor to introduce a friend of mine that's golly, Carl and I were talking about it a while ago. We've known each other for about 15 years. And Carl started out with the Kerr County Sheriff's Office in the jail. Then he went to patrol. Then he was a patrol corporal. Then he promoted into CID, and he's been in this criminal investigative division. And he is now the captain over the division. So he is he's the man that if you do wrong and they investigate it, you're going to be sitting across the table from him. So, but he's here today to talk to us about the ongoing, since it is Trafficking Month. And he's going to give us a little bit of insight about what's going on and everything that's happening out there in the world of law enforcement. So Captain Carl Arredondo with the Sheriff's Office.
Jeff and I have known each other for a long time. I was never in the jail. I worked for the jail. I want to make that clear. I was always brought in through the right doors, I should say. So he's right. I began my career. I'm homegrown. I've lived in Kerrville. Closer. Okay. I don't do this very often. I'm homegrown. I've lived here in Kerrville. Most of my life, went away for school and other job opportunities, but I always came back. I always thought, this is a place I want to live. I want to raise a family, and I believe that. And I think all of you do, because your dedication to the group that you're in. And I have seen many sides. As a kid growing up in high school, I thought, carefree, I can do whatever I want. This is a safe community. Everything's good. Little did I know it wasn't as safe as I thought. And eventually, when I got into the law enforcement side, I did discover there's some evil elements in our community. I hate to say that. Right here? Is that better? Yeah. Thank you. All right. So there are some elements in our community that I would say have become something that we need to address as law enforcement and as citizens. I mean, you all play your part as well. I can remember growing up, I used to ride my bike to a neighbor's house when I don't know what particular gaming system came out, but I took my dog, went probably 5 miles. Now it would be almost unheard of to let your 10-year-old child go anywhere with a dog 5 miles unsupervised. And to be honest, thinking about it now, one of those trips, I was approached by a person in a van, and I didn't think anything about it. And he offered me a ride, and I said no. And luckily, I was just a few minutes from the house, and I told him, no, I live right there, and this is my dog. And luckily, he drove off. So sometimes I think back about that incident, and I'm like, man, was that really a situation where I was in danger? And I don't know, but I don't want kids in our community to feel that way. So when Jeff asked to talk about the subject of smuggling and human trafficking aspect more, because we deal with these things in our community. Now they're brought to our attention. Just this morning, I was telling them one of our troopers stopped a vehicle on the interstate and had 8 illegals. And so we have to deal with that every day. It's something that we face. And luckily they pulled over. There was no pursuit. I know that you guys have been hearing in the past months that we've been in multiple pursuits and vehicle pursuits, and they turn into foot pursuits. And it's all kind of an aspect of that smuggling and trafficking. So smuggling is a situation where it involves individuals crossing our border and coming in here illegally, basically, without the proper documents, without the right to be here. And usually they pay somebody to get them across, and then that person transports them. So the trafficking aspect is a little different. That is more of a person who forces someone into labor or into sex labor, and it's for gain. It's for personal gain of that person, that third party that's forcing them to do this action. That's kind of what we're talking about. There have been studies and statistics. The Attorney General, they put out, Ken Paxton, he has a website that's up, and you can all look on there. There's really good information there if you have questions, or if you want to look up just information that you can further research. But they estimate that 79,000 victims of youth or minor sex trafficking that occurs in Texas at any given time. So 79,000 individuals are victims. And so I want you to put that in perspective. That imagine an NFL team, that's the whole stadium, even more. Some stadiums only fill 60,000. So that's a stadium full of victims that we have that are being forced into either labor or sex trade. And it's against their will. So it's here, it happens. And our agency, along with KPD, I know we're starting a new trend. We've become proactive in this. With our new sheriff, we've done things, and we've changed the way we investigate. We have modernized our tools and our tactics. I don't know if any of you are familiar with, we've done a couple of operations in the past few months that involved what we perceive as trafficking or people going after our children. And so, for my investigators, they do a lot of hard work. And one of these operations, they were required to set up accounts posing as children. And so when you set up an account and you pose as a children, and this is going to be hard for some of you to hear, but in a matter of minutes, they were being sent pictures of the male organ, just sexual pictures. And it blew my mind, and it was disgusting that these strangers would see the profile of a child, what they believe is a child, and then they just send them pictures of themselves. And we were running into that, and we would get people from around the globe. That's what was really alarming for us, is there's people in other states and in other countries that are preying on our children here in this country, and it happens every day. So there are 4 types of trafficking. Adult sex trafficking is adults who are forced into the trade, either by fraud or coercion. And they're made to do either street prostitution, internet prostitution, work in strip clubs and brothels. It covers a wide variety of areas, and even massage parlors. There's adult labor trafficking, which involves adults who do labor like, picking vegetables, working on farms, working in different industries, any kind of industry that would produce, or even hospitality. They work in that area. There's child sex trafficking, which involves children under the age of 18 by any means, and they get forced into the commercial sex industry. And then there's also child labor trafficking, children who are forced to work under terrible conditions, either domestic servitude, manufacturing, or also in the hospitality field. So who are some of the children that are, I'll just start with children because it hits them in a different way, but who are some of the victims that are susceptible to falling into this trap? And it's runaways and children in foster care, unfortunately, and children who are victims of abuse, either physical or sexual abuse. They unfortunately fall into that trap. They are very susceptible to having someone come into their life, telling them that they can give them something better, and then it's basically a con job after that. They get this idea that this person is going to take care of them, and then after time, that person, for the most part, just turns them into a commodity, a piece of property that they can gain profit from. And the child knows no better at this point, or the victim knows no better. People with a history of juvenile or criminal records, and migrants. Migrants also fall into the trap of having to deal with this issue. So, who are your traffickers? They come in all shapes and sizes, all races. There's bosses, people who own strip clubs, people who own massage parlors, people who own a business. It could be a neighbor. It could be a friend. It could be an intimate partner of a victim. There's many cases where a partner talks the victim into, well, if you love me, you'll do this, or, we need money, you need to do this. And then that starts the chain where this victim falls into despair, really. They're in a lose-lose situation. They thought this person loved them, and now they're working for them, basically. So it's modern day slavery, if you really think about it, when people are forced into labor by a third party. That's kind of what human trafficking has been described as. So from our perspective, Kerr County law enforcement, we deal with lots of cases, and I can tell you they're difficult from our side. You have a victim who has been told for a certain period of time by their trafficker that they're worthless, or no one will help them, and law enforcement is not your friend. Law enforcement is there to put me in jail and to cause you problems and even arrest you. It's really not the case. A lot of the victims that we run into, that I've talked to, it's hard for me, it's very difficult for me in a matter of hours to try to convince them that I am their friend and I'm going to try to help them, when they've been under the power of somebody they thought loved them and just took advantage of them for a lot longer period of time than I have to help try to fix that. So there's obviously that barrier, and we struggle with that every day. But there are ways to get around that. I'm part of a group, the Hill Country Care Coordination Team, and it's a group of people, advocates, service workers, and law enforcement that have come together, and we've decided that we're going to try to help victims in a way that's different, in a way that's going to bring them to open up more. So say we get a victim and we believe it's a trafficking case. Well, maybe she's not ready to tell us. She's just not ready to go through everything that she went through. So we file the case that we have. I hate to say it that way, but there's usually a crime that we can file a charge for, either get a warrant or put somebody in jail. And then we get that person into services, and we get that person into counseling, and we get them an advocate, and they talk to this person over a length of time. And sometimes you can build more of a case. Sometimes you can build a trafficking case, because the chances that someone's going to tell me right off the bat, yes, I've been trafficked and this is what's been going on, this is what's happening. It's very difficult to break that cycle in a matter of a few hours, because we're talking to them for a few hours to gain information so that we can either get a search warrant, we can get an arrest warrant, or we can see if there are other victims. And when they have been with this person who's telling them, just treating them really bad and telling them the things that they're worthless, it's hard for us to break that cycle. But, recently we've had some cases, and it hits close to me because there was a girl recently, she had run away from a facility. We'd gotten her placement, and she was all over Facebook. And we had a tip that she was in the area in Ingram. So I took some of the guys. I was like, let's go see, let's go figure this out. We had very little information, and but the anonymous tip seemed reliable. So we went. Of course, nobody wants to answer the door. Everybody acts like they're not home. Luckily we got somebody to answer the door. He's denying, no, nobody here. So me and some of the other investigators, you have to talk your way into places sometimes. That's what this job requires. Guy was a dirtbag. It's I can describe the place as a drug house. I mean, that's what it was. And we just told them, look, we've got good information. She's in here, and we'll do whatever we have to. And eventually he said, all right, if y'all just don't hassle me, yes, she's in there. So we search the house, and it's hopefully none of you have gone to some of the places that we go to. It's just, it's terrible. And you can't imagine that people live like this. But if you ask a cop what's the worst thing they've seen, it's probably going to be like somebody's house. If there's a foot of trash in the house and you have to walk around piles, we get that a lot. And this is what that house was. And we're walking around, we're searching, and we can't find her. She's not here. And then there's a female lying in a bed, and you didn't hear us outside. You didn't hear us knocking for 10 minutes. Oh, no, playing dumb. And so finally we tell her, look, we'll search this house, every nook and cranny. And luckily she does the right thing. She's like, yeah, she's here. She kind of just points in the air. This girl had gotten up in the attic. She was hiding in the attic. And when we found her, if you can imagine, some of you, we shined our light and she's like a raccoon, just in the attic, just these eyes going back at you. And we're telling her, just come down, please come down. She starts crying. And on the way out, she tells me, I'm better off here than anywhere that you were going to put me. And I just thought, and I kind of lost it for a second. And I said, you're better off in a drug house hiding in an attic? And she looked at me and she said, yes. And then I knew, I'm like, this is her life. This is what she's been exposed to. And this is all she knows. So I didn't blame her. I'm like, that's what she believes. That's what she knows. So we get her rescued. We get her with CPS and an advocate, and they're talking to her, they're interviewing her, and me and some of the other investigators, we believe she's a victim of trafficking. We believe the people that picked her up and hid her in this house are, making her do other things. But she's just not ready to say that. She's not ready to reveal to us that. So that case is going to take time. But I just thought in my head, like this is what some of the victims go through. Imagine somebody telling you they're better off hiding in an attic of a drug house than they are in the system that is trying to protect them. So that's the cycle. Those are the barriers that we're dealing with as law enforcement. So we need the help of the community. We need the help of other agencies. And we need a lot of y'all's help. So things you can do, just be aware of your surroundings. If you see something that's off, contact somebody or take note of it. Contact law enforcement. That's our job. We're 24/7. There's a guy on duty and there's somebody at the end of the phone that will pick up and say, oh, you saw something weird? Yes, we'll go check it out. That's our job. Don't do it. We'll check it out. I mean, if you can safely take a photo of something or document something, sure, do that. But don't get yourself involved in a situation where you think you have to intercede with a child or a victim that you think is a victim of human trafficking. But those are the cases that we deal with. We had a case not too long ago, a girl from Mexico, and we believed that she was sold to a person here on the state side. And when we're building a case for, it came to our attention because of an aggravated assault. And we asked her what she's doing here. And she just didn't have an answer. Do you work? No, I just stayed home all day. I just stayed home. Does he let you out? No, I don't go anywhere. So those are red flags for us. So we start building this case. Well, wasn't too long after that, her family from Mexico comes and gets her. And we really had no idea that they were going to take her back to Mexico. Does it hurt our trafficking case? Probably. Does it hurt our aggravated assault case? No, we're still going to prosecute the guy. But those are also some of the barriers you deal with. You have family members who are participants in the trafficking of someone. And so we just do everything that we can to help and understand it's going to take everybody. I've heard different thoughts about how we combat it. Can you curb the need for that product? I don't know. That's a tough one. I wish we could, but to me, I think law enforcement doing their part, and then education is a big thing. We got to educate the community, educate children, educate everybody who's service oriented to just be observant and be aware of what's going on. There's stories of people in a affluent community, and somebody will move into a rental house and they'll set up a shop for a human trafficking situation where girls are forced to have sex with men on a daily basis. So it hits everywhere. It can hit the smallest community, it can hit the largest communities. I'm sure all of you are familiar with, everybody knows that Super Bowl and functions like that. I hate to say it, like the Final Four, college, that all brings in revenue for this type of service because people know that there's going to be a demand for that type of labor. And law enforcement does their part, but I just think knowledge and education is going to be one of the keys to really combating this. Like all of you in this room know someone that has children, or you have children or grandchildren. And my biggest thing when I tell people, just talk to your kids, communicate with them. My daughter and I, we have a pretty strong relationship. People have that conversation with their kids. Call me, if you ever need anything, no questions asked. Well, I'm adamant with her. There will be questions asked, but you can call me. I'll come get you, but there will be questions asked. There will be a thorough investigation and warrants if need be. And I tease, but I do tell her I have that. I'll come get you, whatever. But we are going to talk, and you are. And I think feel bad for her sometimes being the daughter of a cop. It's probably not the ideal situation. She's good for the most part. I think that's about all I have right now.
Get number one and number two off the.
Oh, we did. Well, for the smuggling cases, yeah. So one of the recent smuggling cases that we had Homeland came down, and we had a guy in the interview room, and they, through a contact, they called us and they said, we want to talk to the guy that y'all have in the interview room. okay, sure, come on down. Well, I think he was the number one. He was the number one guy on their list, and they were part of a bigger organization. And we, through interagency cooperation, we had gotten a tip from Border Patrol that they were going to maybe run into our area. And they ended up, we stopped 2 vehicles at that time. I think 6 or 7 individuals were captured, and then including 2 drivers. And this kid, he was 20 years old, and he was smuggling people across the border, just like that was his job. Like that's how he talked about it. Like, this is what I do, and he had been arrested for the same thing just 2 weeks prior. And so they really wanted him, and they wanted this organization, which was part of a kind of a triangle. They take people to Austin. I don't know why Austin, but take people to Austin and then San Angelo, and I can't remember the other part of it, but it's just a weird network of groups that they're running through. And that's another thing we're dealing with. The guys on patrol, the deputies out there, they're doing a really good job of being proactive and spotting. There was also KPD helped us with one where a driver, 18-wheeler, he had seen something suspicious, which I would agree. He saw a vehicle with like people lying in the back, just packed in like sardines, and they were driving really fast. And he said, I don't know what it is, but y'all may want to check it out. So the deputy gets behind him, and they pull into the service station on I-10 and 16. Deputy's talking to him, and he walks up and he notices, he's like, oh, there are people in the back. Well, as soon as he notices that, the door opens up, and you know the old video of like a clown car and people just piling out, like that's really what it was. There's like 5 people that piled out of the back of the truck, and then probably 7 more in the bed. Well, they were able to keep a few on site, but then PD was there with KCSO, and they just spread out all over the place. So you're chasing people all around. And after it was a few minutes later after that, we got those people detained. And then people from Cecil Atkinson were calling. They said, hey, there's a strange vehicle in our lots driving around. And I think they picked up a guy that came down from the woods. So we get that call. I think PD gets behind that vehicle, and then SO gets behind him as well. And they make a stop at around the 512. Lady pulls over, and during the course of an interview, she admits, yeah, I was called by my boss to come down and pick up a guy. They said that they got stopped and they all had to run out. And so she was on standby. Basically, if they run, they go into the woods, and then they'll call somebody else to come to the area. And it was sophisticated to the point where she was given a pinpoint of the phone of the guy that had got dropped off. So she knew to go back behind Cecil, pick him up, and then go back on the interstate. So they're coordinated. They're using technology like we do, so to speak. And she was charged. Actually, that one just went to grand jury. We did 5 counts of smuggling on her, and then the male driver of the other vehicle, he received 12 counts of smuggling. So it's progress. I mean, we're doing our part. It's just sometimes there's a lot of work out there, and law enforcement we're already I'm not going to say overworked, but we have plenty of business. I'll say that we have plenty of business. So you add to this, and it just it's out there.
I told Carl we have a pretty full schedule because I might have another speaker come up in a moment, but Carl will be around afterwards to take questions. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. Chief, thank you for taking time out of yours to be with us today. And I know talking to both of you guys, I know the cooperation that goes on between the agencies. Chief and I are in leadership, Kerr County Class 36 together. And on city government and county government day, we met with the sheriff's office or at the sheriff's office. And Chief volunteered his services and his agency to assist, which my hat's off to you because y'all got your hands full already. Not that I really know a lot about what goes on there, but thank you for everything y'all do for us too, Chief. So. All right. At this time, if I could please ask Mr. Winery to come up. Doug Winery, past district governor, is going to come up and speak a little bit, and then we're going to have Marta and I are going to have our hands full for a moment, so bear with us through all this, please.
Good afternoon. I've been asked to say a few words about Paul Harris Fellow recognition. But before I do that, I need to issue a disclaimer. The Rotary Foundation is my passion in Rotary. For the past 20 years or so, I have been an advocate for the Rotary Foundation programs, and I've been educating Rotarians about those programs. A little history about the foundation. It was formed at the Atlanta Convention in 1917 by then President Arch Klump. The foundation's mission is to further world understanding, goodwill, and peace. The first gift to the Rotary Foundation was $26.50. It was given by the Rotary Club of Kansas City. Back in the days, Rotary clubs, all 16 of them at that point in time, gave gifts to the outgoing RI president. The $26.50 left over was from the gift fund from the Kansas City Rotary Club, and they donated that to the foundation. As with many foundations, the Rotary Foundation struggled with fundraising. Think of it back in 1917, 1918. Events like World War I, the stock market crash, the Great Depression, it really hit hard. And that $26.50, however, proved that from a little acorn, big oak tree will grow. When Paul Harris died in 1946, money came pouring into the foundation. That lasted for about 2 years. After that, things dried up. And in 1957, the trustees developed the program and created Paul Harris Fellow. And that's a recognition of an individual who either donates or has donated in his or her name $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation Annual Fund. That worked for a while, but then things seemed to dry up again. People were thinking, Paul Harris Fellow, okay, I make it, that's my destination. Well, really, it's the beginning of a journey. So the real trustees began another program, and they recognized donors who gave an additional $1,000. Paul Harris Fellows that gave an additional $1,000. And that's where you have the range of Paul Harris pins and Paul Harris levels. You start with your basic Paul Harris, and then you go all the way up to a Paul Harris +8. The money you contribute to the foundation goes in 3 pots. One is the annual fund, one is the endowment fund, and the other one is Polio Plus. Now think of the annual fund as a checkbook. Think of it where money's come in, money goes out to pay for programs. The endowment fund, think of it as a savings account where only the interest off that account is spent. And the Polio Plus fund is a restricted fund. Only the monies in that account are spent on Polio Plus related issues. Money invested in the annual fund, or money given to the annual fund, is invested for 3 years. At the end of those 3 years, the money that was donated is basically split in half. Half of that money goes to the Rotary Foundation, goes into the World Fund. The other half comes back to the districts that made the contributions. So if our district made a $200,000 contribution 3 years ago, we'd be getting $100,000 back from the foundation to spend on grants. And there are two types of grants. There are district grants, which take care of local and international projects that are under $30,000. And then the World Fund and global grants take care of the Rotary projects that are $30,000 or above. What do they do with, what does our district do with district grants? Things like Blue Santa, instruments for the Hill Country Youth Orchestra, supporting an orphanage in Peru, scholarships, and Christmas dinners for disadvantaged youth. Those are some of the things that clubs in our district, including our own, have done with district grants. The Rotary Foundation is really our foundation. And I wish we could label it our foundation, but guys in Evanston don't like that. So it's our foundation, and there's two basic reasons why. First, Rotarians decide what the projects are going to be. It's not the guys in Evanston, it's not, district leadership. It's the Rotary clubs, the Rotarians in those clubs decide what projects they want to do. And secondly, those same Rotarians do the project. They get involved. They don't send a contract or send a check to another organization and say, here, handle it, take care of it. And our foundation is highly thought of in the nonprofit world. Charity Navigator, which rates nonprofits, has given has determined that the Rotary Foundation has earned a 4-star rating, the highest they can give. And we have done that over several years. So now we're going to recognize members of our club who have achieved various levels of Paul Harris fellowships. Their contributions will ensure that the Rotary Foundation will further world understanding and promote peace and goodwill. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. We all know your passion for foundation, so thank you for coming up and speaking about it, about Paul Harris. All right, Marta, are you ready, ma'am? We'll go down here and we'll just, no microphone, so I'll speak up a little bit. So. Mr. Boudreaux, will you please come forward? Since it's your first, sir, you're presented with the Paul Harris Fellow. We have a few that aren't with us today, but we will make sure that they get theirs. If I could please have Wayne Euchre, Stockton Williams. If y'all would both come up, please. And then Wayne, you're gonna get to stay up here. Wayne and Stockton are Paul Harris +2.
Yeah.
No photo. Thanks. All right, thanks. Mr. Forrester, who's not here? Mr. Lane. Stay here. Paul Harris +3. So Wayne did a double dipper. We got 2 in one day. Yeah. I'm not hugging. Oh, okay. Marta, well, you're already here. Danny Croft. We also have Mr. LaBont, who's not with us today. These are your Paul Harris plus fours. So for our guests, for Paul Harris, like I was saying, it's $1,000 for your first one. A plus one is you give it 2,000. So as we progress, we get to them. Let's see here a little bit. Yeah. Mr. Talarico, Mr. Truitt, don't know if you're still. Paul Harris plus 5. Yes. Yeah. Mr. Jones is not with us today, but David Jones is Paul Harris plus 6. Now, if I could please, past President Robin Myers and Mr. Jimmy Huddle. These are your Paul Harris plus 8s. Robin, thank you. We have more to get out there. Thank you, Marta. Don't take your seat. You're up next. Marta's going to speak real quick about our upcoming event in 2 weeks, according to the song, for our main event.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Mr. Winery, and for everybody that is a Paul Harris. It's an extraordinary organization that, again, the reach that they have and the things that they're able to do. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be part of this Rotary Club and know that this Rotary Club is active within that foundation. So we've got really exciting news for the main event. We have a premier title sponsor in James Avery Artisan Jewelers. Yes. I breathed a sigh of relief and actually slept last night. So we have a number of other sponsors, and I know Tammy's been great at getting them posted up on Facebook. And I want to actually recognize Tammy and Carolina for an extraordinary collaboration that got ads in the Kerrville Daily Times and in the Hill Country Community Journal. So that was a great collaborative effort. Atkinson Motors, thank you so much for your support. Callow Foundation is doing a table, but they are donating it back to us so we can fill it with first responders or veterans or other guests that we want to have at the event. Crenwelge is doing a table, Daniels Tax and Consulting, South Star Bank, Kerrville Daily Times, K-Pub, Joe Cook Agency, and Hill Country Community Journal. Thank you, Robin and Tammy. Ashley Home Store, so thank you, Phyllis Ricks. Security State Bank, SWBC Mortgage has a table that's going to be filled with a number of our own Rotarians. And then Duval Goldman came in yesterday, I believe. So tables are going well. We've got about 135 people so far, if all tables are full. So we're going to be getting guest lists. The event right now is planned for 225. So we've got some additional tables to still sell. So for those of you that are thinking about it, David Reist, I would encourage that. He's at it right now. Ticket sales for the raffle are a little bit slow. We're at just over 5,000. And so, of course, the grand prize is a $10,000 gift card. So we have to sell at least 10,000 to be able to buy that gift card. We'd like to have more. So thank you to everybody that has already picked up their tickets and is selling them or has brought your money already back. I know we've got a couple of weeks, and I know that things kind of, as we get closer and closer, people are going to start really getting some fire under them. It's just the nature of events, but I appreciate everybody's efforts to date. And I think we're going to be in good shape. And we are just going to keep on moving forward because that's what we do as people of action. So thank you. And now I have something that is not main event related. Thank God. So a lot of you know that we, as a board, and back when Tammy was president, we started talking about trying to do something with planting trees to memorialize Rotarians that we have lost over the years. And I couldn't be more proud to tell you that there is a bench now on the campus at Shriner University over by the trailhead. There's been 8 trees planted over there to memorialize that as a Rotary Grove. We have 7 other trees that will be coming. And so it was a project that took quite a while, but Tammy and Janelle Peralt really drove it through the Rotary board. And so we now have Rotary Grove at the Shriner University campus by the trailhead. And Jeremy Walther from Trailhead Beer Garden is actually taking pictures, and he's going to post it through their social media because he thinks it's really a great thing that we did. So.
Thank you, Marta. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I thought you just needed whiskey, so.
No, I only have like 3 or 4 bottles in my closet. I don't know if there's a lot somewhere else, but if
I have one in my car.
bring me 1 bottle of whiskey, I will be happy.
How about wine?
Wine's good too, but I've got more wine than whiskey.
Okay, so you
Very
need,
little whiskey.
I saw the picture you posted over the weekend, so I know where the whiskey's going. So. Yes, so if y'all have any, for the wine and whiskey pool, Amber has actually volunteered her office again to be the staging area for that, as well as the raffle items. Is that right?
I have all the raffles.
So all the, if you have something for the raffle or the live auction, please take it to Amber. Amber can take pictures or send a picture of it to Robin Myers so we can get it up on, we're doing the 32 auctions and again this year because it was a very big success for us last year. So yes, Tammy. Sure.
So if you've never been in charge of our fundraiser, you don't understand how scary it is. And I'm saying that before you ever start a day 1 of fundraising, you're in the whole 10 grand because of our gift card. So I'm asking each of you to sell your raffle tickets. I know that poor Marta's being so sweet. She doesn't want to say that, but sell your raffle tickets because we need that. That's what we're planning on. If you can't come to these meetings and you're at home, that means we can't give you your raffle tickets. So please get with us to let us know to invoice you and we'll fill out your names on them. But I'm just asking the club to help Marta get this over the finish line and make sure you either sell your raffle tickets, contact us to let us know to invoice them. And if you're not going to sell them, give them back so somebody else can. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Another thing we did last year was we also put them on the 32 auctions and we were able to reach a lot of people outside of the area and that were buying them. So we did that.
Yeah, I'm sure once it's ready to go, we're still getting items that in the next 10 days or so, we'll probably have that link ready and then we'll need to shoot it out far and wide.
Email it out to all members and members.
Yeah, and then share it on
And-
your own Facebook page.
Christy is traveling abroad, so she had started the new Rotarian of the Week. She was not able to get one this week because she's not here, but she will get that started again. Families in Rotary. George and Judy Eichner aren't here today because Judy's not feeling well. So if we would, please keep both of them in your thoughts and prayers. Yes.
Right before the meeting started today, I heard that John Grimes passed. Johnny's family prayers.
So that was, Mr. Tallarico reported that this morning he heard that John Grimes Sr. passed away this morning. So please keep the Grimes family in your thoughts and prayers. Yes, ma'am. I'm getting to that one. So the Fords, we need to celebrate with them as they welcome a new daughter-in-law into their family. Their son got married this weekend. And Stephanie asked us to please remember COVID and the schools and the teachers that are having to deal with this. And then one that hits me in our veteran population in Kerrville and Kerr County. Not a Rotarian, but definitely a pillar in this community that we lost this morning. And Alan Hill, the gentleman that ran the Veterans Center over in Meadowview, that was so instrumental, that would bend over backwards, take money out of his own pocket to give to our vets, and was so instrumental in helping those of us that are suffering with issues from the service. He would do everything in his power to get us service connected and get us through the VA process. And we lost him this morning. At least it was in his sleep. So he went the best way possible. So if y'all would please keep the Hill family in your thoughts and prayers, as well as all of our veterans here that he helped and he touched. I called a friend of mine that he had actually helped and touched. He goes, I hate this news. He goes, I'm actually at Audie Murphy right now because what that man did for me. So if y'all would think about them. And how about a happy note now? Because wine makes everybody happy. And if she's wearing her pin, she's going to win by default because Mr. Morris stepped out a while ago. So Amber, do you have a pin on? I know the next lady I call is going to have her pin on. Sue, you have your pin on? Oh my Lord. Wow. So we have one more that I pulled. So it might be going to the wine auction if Trey Atkinson's not wearing his pin. Trey's wearing his pins. So I don't have my list, so I'm going to wing it. We have Paula, a visiting Rotarian, with us today. She's still with us, so maybe she'll move here permanently and get away from the cold weather up north. I asked Chief McCall to be here with us today because what Carl was talking about kind of hits home with both of those. So Chief, thank you for joining us today. Of course, Carl Arredondo, thank you again for being here today. And yes, Woody Lockhart. He's coming from Houston. He's getting away from that riffraff. So, but welcome back, Woody. Thank you again. All right. With that, if I didn't miss anybody, Bryant. Thank you, sir. You have to remind me what ad that is in a little bit because I'm not, thank you, but whatever. So actually, Stephanie said, put that in Families in Rotary, but it's just work. So, but thank you, Bryant. And thank you, Jeff, for letting me know what it was. So with that, if you would please stand and join me in the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship and be beneficial to all concerned?